That's
There
right.
is no such thing as
a perfect time.
The perfect time is not by you, it's by God. I signed that 5-year lease. I had never done a restaurant. I had no idea. The worst that could happen is you will fail.
Mm-hmm.
And it is okay to fail.
Hey guys, if you've ever felt like you're trading your time for a paycheck that doesn't match your worth, then this episode is for you. My guest today reveals the 4 keys to burning the boats and going all in on your vision. So today, we're going to be covering everything from time management to finding your unique style, finding that thing that makes you you and makes you tick, but pay close attention to the very last point he makes. That one is my favorite and probably the most important thing any entrepreneur needs to pay attention to. All right, let's dive in and I'll see you in the studio shortly.
Yeah, so thank you, Sentie, for joining us here in the studio today. I appreciate you've been trying to get this thing for, how long now?
It's been a long
Let's not even tell
but,
the people.
you know, but
We should tell them so someone gets encouraged to start, right? I remember you sitting in this room about over a year ago and saying, dude, you got to start.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason, right, so this episode is kind of like really special because you've been one of those voices that say, hey, you got to go do it. You got to go do it. Even with my photography, you've been pushing, like you'd send me and say, oh, there's a farmer's market here. You got to get your photos out here so people can see it. And I appreciate you, brother, for like being that accountability pillar, right? And I'm so proud that we're here now. This has been a long time coming. We're here to record this.
You know why though? Because I'm not trying to be the only one suffering. You know, I need you to suffer with me. So that's why I'm like, let's come and do this together so we can have sleepless nights.
Well, guess what? Those are sleepless nights that you have on your own terms.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So again,
they're the best sleepless nights.
Exactly. Because one thing is this, right? So someone says, like you asked the question, what does happiness truly mean?
Mm-hmm.
Right. For me, I believe that happiness is defined by a whole lot of things. It means different things to people. But for me, happiness for me means, or success. Let's use the word success that we actually talked about. For me, I think success is a point where I have the ability to control my time.
Yep.
Right?
You can't get that back.
You can't get that back. Money, I can get back.
For sure. Yep.
Right? Businesses, I can get back.
Mm-hmm.
But time is, as a human being in this continuum we live in,
that one thing
is just that one thing that is linear that you can't reverse.
No.
So, but the whole idea of like the corporate grind and all of that stuff, I mean, I'm still cuffed to it right now, but we're trying to make that switch, is that we're being taught to trade our time for money, right? There's this whole idea that your worth is tied to the amount of time you can trade. But again, a reframe is that your worth is infinitely, you can't put a value to your worth.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
What you should, on the other hand, think about trading is a portion of the value that you have. Mm-hmm. So it's like a contrast between your worth and the value, your value. We're all infinitely worthy, right? You're worthy from the day you were born. Like, you can't put a price to on how worthy you are, right? But however, as you're growing, you're learning. As you're learning, you're adding value to your life. And that's what the whole idea is. Like, that's what you should trade, a portion of your value, not your worth. So a lot of times, like, I used to have that whole idea, I'm going to charge what I'm worth, right? Mm-hmm. So I went through this training on Thursday where it was literally around like money mindset and how like old rules about money holds us down, that I had to like reframe that to say, you know what, my worth can never be paid for. And if I keep tying my worth to the amount of time I spend in a 9 to 5, there's absolutely no way I'm getting out.
Yeah.
Right. So
it's by design, though, if you think about it.
Exactly.
There's certain things that we hear, in church, in the Bible, like money is the root of all evil, right? Mm-hmm. We say that, but do we even know what that means? If you really think about the history of even like, let's say Africa, how the missionaries came, like the the Western world came to Africa, and they found us with our barter system.
Yes.
We had no currency.
There was no currency back then.
If I have a restaurant and I have food, and you have maybe, if I need manpower, if I need something from you, and I tell you, I'll give you food for your family. If you
I
give
just
me
need
this.
some work for me for like a day or something.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And that's how it's supposed to be. But then now, when you put money on that, you know what that means is like, because and actually this is what kind of helped me quit my job. This is what made it easier. What really helped me. So for those that might not know, I have I'm married and I have 4 kids, right? So I have a 10-year-old, 7-year-old. One just turned 3, one turned 2. So we had 2 under 2. So I had back-to-back parental leaves. And the company I was working at, JP Morgan, they had like a really generous parental leave. So I had 6 months off both times. So for those 2 years, I was off for 6 months. And then when I took the time, the family went to Uganda. You know, my family did 2 months in Uganda.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, I was still getting paid, and I was still like living my life, you know. And I was like, wow. So the hack in life is to have your needs met, because that's why we work. We work to pay our bills.
Exactly.
And if you really think about like, if you don't work, you don't have money for your bills, and then you're screwed. But in Africa, there's people who have no money, but they're okay because maybe they have a roof on their shoulder, you know, they have food that they're growing. So if you get the hack, if you have a point where like you can, even people who have like, you know, their jobs making good money. So what that means, like, and then you buy stuff you might not need, but then you get accustomed to that life, to a bigger house, a bigger car, you know, all these luxuries that now you need to work to maintain.
Brother, why are we working to maintain it? Because
That's what I'm saying.
you don't own it.
No, you don't, exactly. But if you strip all those down, you're like, you know what, if I have a modest house and I can feed my family and I'm happy, the happiness will come with, you know, like I can be off work for 2 weeks and be okay because I have downsized to a place where I'm comfortable. So I can be living life, because like I'm not gonna wait till I'm 70 or 65 to retire and then enjoy. Does that make sense, to enjoy money when you're older?
Like 10 years and then die off. Like, what's the life expectancy, right?
Exactly, and that is what they want. So when you make that shift and you live now, and you live life by your own rules, you know, you decide, you know what, let me do. It's much cleaner and you feel nicer, and and it's easier to say it than do it. But once you do it and you adjust, maybe we need 1 car, not 2 cars, and we will make it work, because you will make it work.
I need back home.
There's people who have no cars.
Yeah.
and they're still making it work. People who are living, like we grew up, when we were growing up with my mom, like we lived in a 1-bedroom house. All of us, you know, 5, 6 of us in 1-bedroom house, and we made it work somehow. You know, people who have bigger houses and like they don't see each other because, you know, so you work hard, you have a big house, and either you don't see each other, or maybe you're working hard, like people who work in nursing fields, you know, you work like double shifts. So you can pay for a house that you don't live in. Does that make sense?
Doesn't make sense.
People who come to America and they work to save money back home, and then you die, and people back home spend your money that you've worked hard to make, but you're not. Is that really living? We need to rethink this. Let's rethink this. This is not the American dream. The American dream is for us to work.
I think that's what the whole capitalist dream is.
Really is.
So the whole idea of like American dream of like the picket fence.
Yep, exactly.
And, like you said, work and be done at 5.
Yep.
And then, you know, put your feet up, drink beer and watch the game. Where's that dream though?
It doesn't exist. They lie to us. Or we believe what was, they lie to us.
But now the insight this, right, is that you and I, right, we migrated here.
Yep.
So we have a different perspective already from where we come. Because growing up, my parents drove 1 car for over 35 years. And it was normal back home.
Yep.
You bought a car with the cash that you had.
Exactly.
Brand new.
Yep.
But then you drive it for 30 years.
Yes.
We live, like, we still own the house where I was born in. Right? And right now my kids have already, like, you know what? Oh, we've moved houses 3 times.
3 times already, yep.
And my first child is just going to turn 9 in a month.
Right.
Right? So I'm like asking myself, back home, I never knew the whole idea of what a loan was, or like a mortgage.
Yeah.
You would buy land with the cash you had, put little pillars around the thing with the next salary. Next month, the one comes, Because if you don't put the pillar, your family members are going to start cutting into the land.
Oh, definitely. Yep.
And then next thing you put a fence, and then you put a gate. Then you dig the foundation, put a first floor in, put a roof on the first floor. And you have plans of maybe doing like a 2-story building.
Right.
You move into the ground floor while the up is still happening.
My mom did the same thing. So that one bedroom, my mom had a big house, but she built the foundation, then built the first bedroom. We lived there. And then she built the living room next door. Then the kids moved to the living room, and then they built the bathroom. Then they built the second bedroom, and then that's how you adjust it, Versus just like, and it makes sense, and you know what I mean. So versus this whole mindset of just like getting this big mortgage, and then this big thing that's
30 years
standing on you, like it's on your head. You're thinking of, every day. If I don't go to work, they're gonna, foreclose my house. Where am I gonna be? Where am I gonna live?
All right, this is getting really deep. So, all right, so we're gonna start. Let me just do a quick introduction because we're talking, right? Yes. We'll piece all of that in post. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Unmuted Man Conversations with Emmanuel Awa. Today we're having a very, very, very special guest, Senteza Sentie Kironde. Sentie is, I can call you Sentie on the show, right?
Sure.
All right. Do I call you DJ Sentie?
Yeah, you can call me Sentie.
Okay, so yes. Sentie is a multi-talented Ugandan chef who began cooking at the tender age of 9 and inherited his love for the culinary arts from his family and dad, Apollo Kadumukasa Kironde II. I got that right?
Yes, you did.
I had to do like the African accent, like like we see in the movies, Black Panther. So his dad also is a renowned chef. He received his business degree and MBA both from Babson College here in Boston, which enabled him to enjoy a rewarding career in finance. But his calling was in the culinary arts. So Chef Sentie is the visionary behind Sentie's Kitchen, a dynamic Ugandan catering and pop-up establishment proudly rooted in Boston's vibrant culinary scene. As the driving force and owner of Sentie's Kitchen, Chef Sentie leads with a passion for connecting communities through the universal language of food, culture, and music. Renowned for his mastery of wood-smoked barbecue, Chef Sentie takes pride in sourcing the finest meats from local providers and infusing them with a symphony of exotic Ugandan herbs and spices. Each dish is meticulously crafted with flavors that tell a compelling story of tradition and innovation. And so one thing that Sentie hasn't told us in his bio is that he is also DJ Sentie. And I know that because he actually DJ'd at my 40th, right? He was supposed to be a guest. And then he now said, your DJ isn't doing a good job. Let me go take over. That was kind of
I forgot about that,
yeah. And then he goes and he's spinning. And so that's really, really cool. Thank you again, brother, for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Truly appreciate you being here. So we're going to just jump right into it if that's okay.
For sure, yeah.
So I know we've been having a lot of conversations around this, right? But I want to hear your story about your big pivot. So I'm reading the book, right, by MJ DeMarco, right? And it says there's a point where you have an FTE, right? It's like, it's called like the F time event, like that event where it's like, man, this is like, it's kind of like an epiphany where, man, I don't want to do this again. So can you tell us about your journey from a career of finance to building Sentie's Kitchen, right? Because that is a powerful story.
Yeah. I think growing up, because I went to school in Uganda, I grew up, my formative years were in Uganda. And what made sense to me was math. Math made sense because it just adds up. 1 + 1 is 2. So I loved accounting. I loved balance sheets, making it balance. So when I came here, I pursued business in terms of like finance and accounting, and went to Babson College, which is the #1 school of entrepreneurship. But I went there for business for my undergrad, and then I interned at PricewaterhouseCoopers doing accounting, and then finally when I did my MBA, I was at JP Morgan doing fund accounting, and I was a vice president. Managing a team, and it was good. It was good. I was making decent money, providing for my family, but I had this passion to cook, and it just started off actually by accident. I was at we lost a family member, and then I got asked to cook. My brother and I, PG, got asked to cook, and we made potatoes and rice, something like that. And then I guess people liked it, so they asked if another event if we can cook for that, and we did, and then it just kind of picked up, and then we're doing that, and then got a few events here and there, and then it picked up to a point where like I started Sentie. It was first called Sentie's Catering Company, and then I was like, you know what, just like, and then what hit my mind was like, just like Burger King, right? So Burger King can't sell fried chicken because the name says burger. Mm-hmm. So then I changed it to Sentie's Kitchen because that was, more, I can do whatever I want with it, because kitchen is not just catering, it's not, a restaurant, it's just Sentie's Kitchen. So that's why I changed that name. So I can, in case I open up a restaurant, and I swore to myself I would never open a restaurant. Like I said that would be crazy to open a restaurant. Why I love catering is because catering, you know what to expect. It's like, someone's getting married, they tell you how many people they're going to have, so you plan ahead. And I fast forward, I end up doing a restaurant. But with a restaurant, you can plan for 10 people, then 100 show up. Plan for 110 show up, So like, I'm always chasing a moving target with the restaurant. But anyway, so then I did catering, and then the pandemic hit, and that's what kind of helped, because like before then I was doing my 9-to-5 job. Weekends I would do little events, parties, baptisms. And then when the pandemic hit, everyone was home. So I was home, working from home, and I was working out of my kitchen at home. So I had my laptop there, and then I was doing little like 10 people weddings. And then I kept doing more of those little weddings. And then it got to a point where I got busier, and a place opened up, and I was like, what, let me. And at that point, actually, I was on parental leave when the place opened up that I'm currently in Southport, Massachusetts. And the place was actually only selling their equipment. So I went over there and I asked her, I'm like, what, is this place available? And then she said it was available. So what I did was I signed that lease. And that was my point to you when earlier, when you talked about having this plan, I want to. So when you said that you want to wait, you want to pick a time when it's not busy, that to me was a red flag, because I feel like now your mind is trying to convince you of getting the perfect time. No such thing. There is no such thing as a perfect time. The perfect time is not by you; it's by God.
That's true.
And you can't anticipate that.
That's true.
It is now. So then I signed that 5-year lease.
5-year lease.
I had never done a restaurant. I had no idea, but I was what, let me do this, because again, what's the worst that could happen is you will fail. Mm-hmm. And it is okay to fail. You know what I mean? It is okay to fail. But then if you do the prep work, and most of the prep work is mental.
That's true.
Because if you convince yourself you can do something, aside from flying, like you can do it, So like if you tell yourself that you're going to do this, you will, and I think what's important is having a structure. Mm-hmm. Because no man is an island,
That's true. You need a team.
Yes, I am blessed. And honestly, like, again, I'm not as biblical, but the Bible has a lot of gems in there, So the key to my success, honestly, is my wife. Mm-hmm. It's that back, nice. Because as a man, as a married man, if things aren't good at home, and it happens to me, like if me and my wife aren't good at home, mm-hmm. it trickles down to the restaurant somehow. You know what I mean? So like it is important to have that backbone, that background to
support system.
Support, because again, when I'm in the restaurant, my wife is home with the kids. She's taking care of that front.
And I've seen that at the restaurant too. Like,
oh yeah, I've had she's had to like come in and kind of help out as needed. And then when she comes in, all my staff, they say the bosses. Yeah, I'm like, no, but it's my name on the door. But they're like, listen, we know that, but your boss is in town, he's around. I'm like, all right, okay, you know what I mean? But then, so you need that, So having that helps. So what I'm saying to you is that when I signed that lease, I did not know what to expect. But thank God I am, year 2 now, of many, many years of this. And every day I'm learning something new. And that's what I love about what I'm doing, is because like, it's every day something new. Like even like recipes.
That's true.
Like some of them bomb, they're not good. Then, take it off the menu, then you try it. Like right now, the thing I'm playing with right now is chili. I know I have really nice chili, which is, beans. I have a 3-bean chili, 3-bean and ground beef. but it's not selling, and now I need to make a choice of, do I take it off the menu? But because I'm like, now I'm thinking, it's winter, people are now going to have more soups. So I took off the salad off the menu because, again, I kept buying salad. No one's buying salad. And maybe that's because Africans don't eat salad. They don't eat crabs. They're like, that's for the cows. So we'll eat the cows that eat the salad. We'll eat. So that's what they do.
Oh, man.
Now, so like, again, so this business has me pivot. Every day I pivot into new things. You try something, it doesn't work. And that's the beauty of it. Having a business is like you try stuff, it doesn't work, then you try, like your mind is always working.
That's right.
Funny enough, so I got into a fight with the wife. I mean, we were on vacation in Maine. It was a beautiful day. When on the boat, with the kids, we are enjoying the weather. And then, again, the mind of an entrepreneur does not switch off. It's always on. Mm-hmm. So I'm always trying to fix problems in the kitchen, So I was like, you know what? Like, we make rice, in the stove top. I'm like, you know what? Maybe let me buy some rice cookers. So I'm on a boat in Maine, and I'm ordering rice cookers. And I look, and my wife was like giving me this mean stare, like
don't do it.
Like, what are you doing? Like, but I'm like, listen, I need to buy this now because I'll forget. And then, so like, I'm always like finding ways to
improve the system,
Of course, yes, because it's not perfect. It can't be perfect. How do I make it more efficient? So that, but yes, so it's always on and off. Like always, how do you adapt? And that's the beauty, because like with a 9 to 5, you just sit there, and that's part of why I quit my job, because like you're doing the same mundane thing, like you go in Excel, you do these things, whatever, you send emails, it's boring. But with this, I can come on next week and like
something unique.
Yes, or I see something on YouTube. Let me try this and make it have my own twist to it. And that's why I love what I'm doing now, because like every day is a new day. Literally, it's something new that I either come up with, or a new customer that that is going to challenge me, and then it just keeps me growing.
Wow, that is really profound. I really seeing that. One, you need to have some sort of like system in place, right? So when you talked about structure, all that was coming up was like, oh, get a system. And then ultimately, before you even make the leap, right, you need to have, like, you call it backbone, but I also could interpret it as like a whole support system. So imagine would there have been a Sentie's Kitchen if you didn't even have the backing of Susie B, your wife?
No. And that's the honest truth. No, I would not. And then I'll take it a step further. If you think about people like Barack Obama, even Bill Clinton, I guarantee you that if these guys were single, they would not be where they were.
That's right.
And then, I'm not even political, but I will just say this. The current president, you see the way he's moving. If he had a wife that was, if he had Michelle, he would not be doing that kind of stuff. Think about it, you know what I mean? Like, and that's a fact. So it is important to have that structure, that network of that backbone that's going to back you literally, as needed.
So I mean that right there, what you're saying is really, really deep, because as immigrant men, right, like we come here, there's a huge pressure, right? It's sort of like, and I don't know if that's your story, but I feel like that's a general story of all immigrant men, all of our friends, where it feels like we're living two lives. One is like we need to adapt and live here, but we're also living for our family back home. Like, we have parents back home, or we have family and all of that stuff, where from the perspective of coming, especially from Africa, is like, a lot of people sort of like help you get to where you're getting. And so you would sort of like turn back and sort of like pull people along. Yep. So as an immigrant man, how did you deal with that pressure, right? Because all they tell us, right, in Nigeria is like, hey, the only careers that you can have that makes sense is either be a doctor, a lawyer, engineer, or anything else, you're like a failure, right?
So what did you become, by the way? I'm curious.
I became an engineer, right?
So
I mean, that's another round of like,
good son. I didn't become a DJ or a chef.
Well, guess what? Like, I have a friend who, up until yesterday, right, sent me a video and says, dude, you need to come back into your art, because I used to dance in school.
Really?
Yes, like literally on stage, right? So I belong to a group called Youth with a Purpose, right? A whole lot of my friends, right, who did all those creative things are like either like Nollywood actors right now, or doing like music and stuff. I wanted to do that. My mom outrightly says no. So today, there's a big portion of my personality that I feel has been silenced because of that cultural norm.
Okay.
And I'm still like paying the price today. where today now I've encouraged my children to like do music. So they belong to this music program, this beautiful music program called City Strings United in Boston that brings kids that look like you and I into classical music. So Zane, my first son, plays the piano and cello, and Zeke is picking up the violin. And the reason why I do all that, right, sometimes it's like, man, I know what value it would have been for me from the creative side, right, if I had a lot of motivation and encouragement to maybe not give up the academics completely, but also to encourage that whole creative side, right? But so again,
wait, can I blow your mind a little bit?
Yeah, please do.
That's what I'm hearing. So I'm guessing your parents were telling you to be a doctor or engineer, right?
Yes. They said you can dance later.
And were they doctors or engineers? They were not, right?
No, my dad was a lawyer.
Okay, there you go. Okay,
yes.
So what I'm hearing is you are telling Zane to do what you didn't do.
Well, that's the thing. But I'm trying to do it in a very intentional way where I'm not pushing my.
But I guarantee your parents thought the same thing when they were doing it.
When they were doing this, I think, and honestly, I've come to the point where I would like forgive my parents.
Of course.
Right? Because honestly, it gets to a point where I say, oh, the reason why I'm acting out this way was because I was raised. As an adult, it gets to a point where you can't make that excuse anymore. Whatever you now do is a choice, right? Mm-hmm. So I've gone to a point where like I've let that go. But I also know how I feel when I come around my friends who play music or who are doing creative arts. I feel like a whole big portion of my true self didn't get to live.
Nah, but knowing you, bro, there's no way you would manage that lack of structure. Like, those creatives have no structure, bro.
Well,
engineer,
have you seen me in the studio before?
No, I have not. I can't imagine, but I can imagine you as an engineer. You guys, your brains think one way. Like, you guys are very binary.
And honestly, right, like, we think logically, but honestly, I see myself doing both, right? Like I do both, and a lot of times, right? Like I'm writing code, and I'm like, man, I don't want to do this, yeah. Right? A lot of times that happens, and I'm like, man, is this really like what I meant to do, right?
No,
and then I'm in the studio doing a fashion shoot, and Yvette comes in and says, hey, dude, you know it's 2 a.m., right?
You have no idea what time it is.
I have no idea. Or I'm in front of a screen retouching a picture or editing a video. And she's like, oh, I'll see you later. And it's like 10 p.m. And the next morning she comes in and it's like 5 in the morning. And I didn't know where time went.
That is amazing.
So it makes me feel like the whole direction towards like the whole structured engineer, blah, 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 was me living, quote unquote, my parents' dreams, right? And over time, I conditioned my mind to do that.
Yeah, so you know about that, right? So when you go to school, right? So unless you're a doctor, because doctors, like, they teach you how to do hard surgery, then
you need structure.
Yes, but things like this, it's different in the sense that you don't, like, you're engineering, right? You didn't learn that stuff. Well, you're using it at work right now, right? But then you're going to see how it's going to really play out in your new chapter, because this is not your last chapter.
Amen.
Emmanuel. It is not your last chapter.
Amen. Amen.
There are many,
many phases, there are many lives you live,
right? This is not my last chapter.
That's right.
You know what I mean? But it's like my accounting background and my MBA, like, at first, like, you know what, I'm not going to use this, but like I see it in other ways, like, you know, because like my resume is different than any other chefs, because like I have a different trajectory, but I believe that's what makes me unique, right? So your parents telling you to go into engineering, right? It got you here, and it's going to be the foundation that's going to propel you to this next chapter, and you will even be a better creative because of that. Because I
have a foundation of structure, right?
And you don't even notice it. You're like, oh, this is why it clicks for you, right?
That's right.
You know what I mean?
And it's kind of crazy, like, so in meetings, right? So sometimes we're like at work, right? And they're like, oh, someone's like, everyone, we're going to go around the table, right? Maybe on like a Zoom, like a meet or something. And they're saying, oh, everyone go around and you got to like share something about yourself, right? And we're sharing something and everyone says, oh, I do this, oh, I enjoy coding of this and blah, blah, blah. Everyone is talking about like all of this whole things that they like to do as hobbies, which to me, I'm like, no, that's the technical work. And then in my time, I'm like, and because they know me from a technical perspective and like the quality of deliverables that I produce, right? So I'm a person that if I put my mind to doing a thing, I will get it done, right? So they understand like, oh, this is like a, senior leader here, like highly technical deliverer, right? But then, and I'll say, okay, like, so for my hobbies, right? Oh, take a look. And all I'm doing is I'm pulling out my publications of the magazines where like I was published in Germany on like some fashion shoot. And they're like, wait, like, is that you? I say, yep, that's my work. Or I go, like, I bring out my portfolio and they're like, wait, how? It's like, they're like, it feels like you're two different people. And honestly, Sentie, like, I've struggled with not living fully authentic to myself because I feel like the creative Emmanuel shouldn't exist with the tech Emmanuel.
Right.
And then I feel like, oh, the tech Emmanuel shouldn't exist with the creative one. And that's why when you and I were talking earlier about me wanting to become like me being a speaker, we're like, we're being, right? To talk about creatives who also have careers and so like coach professionals to find a way to create wordiness and value of both worlds while living authentically. So that's like my story. That's my journey, right? Like, hey, you're this and you're that and you're all in one.
Look, can I say this though? You can't be both. I'll tell you why you can't be both.
Tell me
because you give more, and that's why I quit my job. Because I couldn't give my full
self to
both. Kitchen. I was killing it at JP Morgan for sure. I was doing my stuff, getting the promotion and stuff. And as a black man, I was the only black person on my floor. And I was actually so like in banking they promote like very like maybe like 1%.
I know.
So one was who got the bump to AVP, whatever it is, you know what I mean? And it's because of my work ethic.
Yes.
But I'm like, I'm doing this for this big multi-billion company that I'm just a drop. Imagine if I refocus this energy
into your own thing.
Bro, I look at Uber drivers picking up orders. I'm like, wow, this is because I quit my job and I did this, and now I'm providing something, for these other people, and that to me is fulfilling.
Dude, I have been at your restaurant and helped you pack meals.
Oh yes, remember that? Yes, your family has been there.
Yes.
To do that.
And I was so proud of you. I was like, whoa, Sentie, this thing that started from like farmers market, now we're like bagging like thousands of plates because you were employed by the state.
Yes, exactly. You know what I'm saying? So stuff like that is what makes it worthwhile. So you like, and the thing is, what you just shared about, showing your group, what you like, that is even a fraction. Imagine if you focus all that coding energy into your passion, how much more that will be. You know what I mean?
But I like how you put it, because no knowledge, right? This is what I believe. Like, knowledge is actually energy, right? And no knowledge actually is wasted. It's just it's sort of like converted from one form. I mean, that's like physics 101, right? Like literally me bringing my whole
It's not lost. It's not lost.
It's not lost. It's just converted from one form of energy to another, right? So as it is now, Sentie, you call yourself Chef Sentie, but however, you're still accountant Sentie. You're still businessman Sentie. All of those things, right? Like, I'm throwing it back at you, right? The way what you told me is that you are leveraging all of your life lessons so far to make Sentie's Kitchen a success.
Yes. And it's every day. It's not like every day when I wake up, I'm like, how do I be a better, even like when they ask me, so in the beginning, they asked me, how was your day? The rest of my wife would ask me, I'd be like, better than yesterday. And that's what you achieve in life. Even like with our kids, you want, every African will tell you, I want my kids to have a better life than I did.
Well, it's not every parent's dream, though.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, like people have raised asshole kids through that, mentality,
That's right.
Because then they get entitled.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, I actually watched, I know you do share a lot of things online,
Yes.
like I heard one that was talking about how, like, I actually have my kids fail, so, like, they fail in a comfortable setting.
Yes.
So that way, like, when the world kicks their butt, they're ready for it. You know what I
And
mean?
that's the same way I'm raising my children. I'm raising them. I'm like, say, listen, I will be tough on you. And the reason is, like, I show them, like, say, see, your parents, right? We're making good investments for you guys. But guess what? This is not yours. Mm-hmm. We have the right to, like, just take it tomorrow.
Yep.
Because you can't get entitled over this. Mm-mm. But the whole idea is this, right? Like, we're trying to, like you said, that comfort setting. Yep. Because I know what it was like, literally growing up with lack. Making them understand, say, hey, there's no lack here, right? But there has to be life lessons, right? Mm-hmm. And it's just so hard sometimes to raise children intentionally in a society that's sort of like tells you different, right? And it's kind of hard. I don't know how your idea is.
But you know how the best way to raise kids is by them watching you.
That's true.
Your kids,
the model,
they
everything.
Watch how you treat your wife, and trust me, that's the way that he will know that boys, like, they look up to their father.
Exactly.
And so I've noticed that. So we have a WhatsApp group for fathers. That my friend Gali started. And
why am I not in that group though? Like, honestly, now I'm offended.
Because, there's a 3-kid minimum. I'm just kidding. Well,
so I got all the bags.
So tonight,
Yvette, are you hearing that?
In 9 months, we'll add you. No. So we talk about it, and I'm like, our parents never asked, my child came back with but I love that we have more present fathers.
Yes.
Now I'm hoping that this will carry over to, and then we'll have more black fathers, one. So, and we've had this discussion before, right? So when we ask who came first, right? The wife, because many again, and I've heard many Ugandan people, like they see themselves more as fathers before husbands, right? Mm-hmm. And that's probably because it's easier, because, like, I don't know, like, your child maybe looks like you, so so this is gonna be a part of your DNA. But this wife, you can get another wife, you can get another child, but but still, but like I think I'm loving that the new us, we respect our wives and they respect us as well, and like we have that.
Or more like you love your wife, and then because I heard,
right?
It's like men want respect and women want love.
Really? Is that it?
That's what I heard. That's what I heard.
Wait, say it again.
That's men. We want respect, but women want love.
And guess what? And
does that land for you well?
I think so. I guess I'll ask, do we ever achieve those two goals?
I think so.
You think so?
Yes. So I think, like, as men, we want to be loved, right? But respect means a whole lot more. And I think it comes from a perspective of the roles that we play. Like, we're like always doing. Like you've said in this show today, like, I'm always looking for the way to fix things, right? Mm-hmm. So ultimately, we feel like there's a whole lot of, like, feeling in our hearts when there is a respect of what we provide, because we can't have kids.
But the problem with those two, honestly, the problem with those two, and sorry to cut you off, is that
no worries.
So respect, I feel like, might be a little like it's.
Tell me, how does that land for you? I want to hear that.
So respect is one of these things that is subjective.
Tell me, what does respect mean to you?
What respect means to me might not be the same as what my wife sees as respect, right? Respect to me could be greedy. So in Ugandan culture,
okay.
So my wife has to kneel down when greeting my father and elders, and she still does it. Bless her. Even here in at the mall, she can kneel down and greet my aunt, because that's respect, right? But here, respect for in the Western world might be maybe I don't know, like washing dishes. It could be, like not talking back. So it varies based on what a woman grew up knowing as respect, and what a man. So it depends on your background and what you saw as respect growing up, right? Mm-hmm. But the thing about love is universal. So it's not fair, because Emmanuel, you love your kids, right?
I love my kids,
but sometimes you might not like one of them. Because love will be forever. Like,
That's
you will
true.
love your parents
That's
forever.
true.
But one day, like, I don't like this kid today.
That's true.
He
I mean, in your relationships too.
You know what I mean?
I don't know about you. There are
Yes.
days where I'm like, man, I don't like this
woman.
person.
Yes.
But I love this woman. I would just like literally, I wouldn't let anybody out there.
So that's
talk
not a fair assessment
crap
of respect
about-
and love.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So I think we need to find another thing for us.
So for you feel like both parties need love, right?
Love
Both
is
parties needs respect too as well. Is that
yes, but respect. You need to maybe define what respect is. Like what what do you value as respect? Respect could be you pay the bills. You know, then I respect you. You know, if you don't pay the bills, I don't respect you as a man.
And so it's not like so. So what I'm hearing is this, right? Just going to like level 5 listening and active listening. It's like for you're saying that if we go with that word of like, oh, men want respect and women want love, is that now that our value or word is now tied to what we bring.
Oh, for sure.
Right. And I heard this whole thing like Chris Rock or so said that about like, oh, man can be loved unconditionally. Do you believe that as well?
Men cannot be
Loved
loved
unconditionally. We can only be loved on the condition of what we bring.
100%. 100%. Listen, you know for a fact if you don't bring XYZ to the table, there might be a little bit of, you know, maybe a few weeks, a few months, you might get away with it. But after a while, it'll be like, hey, bro, like, what are we doing here?
But does that change the love, though? If love is truly universal, does that change the underlying love? Because now I'm bringing you back to the point where if you agree that men can be loved...
Is this an exam, sir, or a podcast?
No. We're having deep conversations about this because all of it ties to the mental and emotional load that we men carry, right? And so when you said men... I told you what I heard online and what I saw online and saw some research where men actually thrive on respect and women thrive on love, right? And you said you disagree. And now, but then I bring up another talk where it's like, oh, that men can't be loved conditionally. Like men are loved conditionally based on what we bring, right? And you said, oh, you believe that 100%. But now, so technically, if respect is tied to what we bring and men can't be loved unconditionally, isn't it one in the same?
Now you just broke it down. Now I'm like, wow, I think you have a point for sure.
Okay, so let's
yes.
No, honestly,
okay,
I like the definition though. I like the definition of you saying that respect means something different
for
to
each
people.
person. Yes,
and you as a man need to understand what that really means to you, right? Right. That's deep. That's really deep. That's really deep. I'm just gonna let that sit with me for like a second.
Yeah, let's marinate on that one for a second. Yeah, because that was really deep. Yeah.
Oh man, no. This one is getting deep. So, but now, like I'm thinking, I'm like, okay. So for you with Sentie's Kitchen, bringing that back to our discussion, if what was that mental pressure, right, and emotional journey for you to let go of a stable job, knowing fully well that there's a condition, quote unquote, and I'm just saying putting air quotes because I'm putting air quotes here because honestly, we are all worthy. As every man out there, you have your worth, right? Nothing, the amount of money in your pocket doesn't define who you are. But I'm just saying, in the world that we live in, right? What was the mental and emotional journey? Putting down stability and picking up uncertainty.
Major instability.
For sure. And picking up major instability. You put down stability. And I mean, like, imagine thinking about this. Like, hey, dude, you're going to give up your VP job at JP Morgan. You know how many people bragged about you back home?
I know. It is the largest bank in the world, I believe.
Yes.
You know, and it was great, you know, and it was actually a very crazy thing that I did.
Tell me about that.
Because I believe there are 3 Ugandan restaurants in Massachusetts, I believe.
Okay. I only know one.
Okay. Amen, brother.
I only know one.
As you should. So can you guess how many nursing agencies Ugandans own? Can you?
In Boston?
Yes. A ton. It's a ton. It's a ton.
Thousands, okay.
Yes, it's thousands.
Okay.
And that should tell you because it's a lot easier to do that than because. So what I didn't really, and I think okay, actually before that I will say like I'll go back to one thing. when you went back to like starting a business and stuff, right? So like I went to business school, and the main thing that they preach, right? So at Babson, we had this thing as a freshman, where you had to so we had a year-long class where at the end of the year you pitched an idea to like real angel investors. So at Babson, every Friday we had no class, and everyone like wore suits that day because you had to like present. So we've been presenting since freshman year at Babson, like presenting like to investors, your product, pitching, elevator pitch, like in 6 seconds, can you tell me about yourself? Boom, boom, my name is this, I do this, whatever, So, and they drill in a business plan. And do you know how many people get stuck on a business plan? And I would say this, to this day, see, you do, see?
Yes.
This is to you.
It's the perfectionist math.
I believe a business plan is bullshit. I'll tell you why it is. Because it's going, like, it will never work out that way. It will never.
Literally, people who are putting money on you want to see some kind of
They want you to BS them, to lie to them.
Okay.
Because I would tell you, in the first year I'll make this amount of money. No. You'll make twice or none or half. You'll never. You can have all these little I'm gonna do these case studies and tell me this and it's even a lot worse for a cultural business, like food business, because
restaurants are the hardest things to start. They always tell you don't even start at a restaurant.
And not just any restaurant, right? Like if you think about if I open up a burger shop, right? Or like a fries and chicken nuggets, all I'm doing is buying frozen fries and nuggets and I'm frying them, right?
So
the price is really price is gonna be very fixed.
Okay.
On that.
And the process is fixed as well too.
But if I'm gonna be doing matoke, egusi, pounded yam, and some of these, and right now even worse with the tariffs, right? With the tariffs, it's gonna be tougher. It's tougher now because now stuff is coming in from Africa. It's gonna get charged more money now. And then when you and this market is very price sensitive. So if I increase the price by even like $1 per plate, they're gonna go crazy because they don't want to pay more money. But then if I'm sourcing stuff from Africa, I'm gonna pay a premium for it. So I'm gonna charge that to make the money back. So it's tougher to do that. So it's a tough thing. So dealing with all that, and obviously, and I've also noticed in my experience, my toughest critics are our people. And I get it. They want us to do our best, but sometimes it's to a fault. I have honestly, I have more. I have a warmer experience in the most part, with non-Africans coming to the restaurant. But the Americans, if you mess up, they'll go to Google right now and they will write a review. They will let you know right away. The black person won't say shit, but they'll go and tell their friend, don't come back over there. They did this. They didn't greet me. Don't do that, But the American will go online. They go to Facebook. That's why every day I go to Facebook. I'm like, what happened this time? What did I do? Google review. This one didn't greet me. I'm like, oh crap. Hey guys, we're gonna greet people. But then Africans want you to kneel down and greet them at a restaurant. Welcome to the. You know what I mean?
So we're taking the cultural number back home and bringing it here.
Yes,
and you serving to communities.
Yes,
now. It's so hard.
The toughest thing is getting that balance, but I will get there.
So
that balance.
So it's been really tough, right? But how have you been dealing with the mental load?
One day at a time. Because every day is not the same. Like just last week, like for example, there's like a toilet that flooded in the restaurant. I have to get that fixed. The sink broke. Grease trap. All these things that again won't be in the business plan. They won't tell you that the fire alarm will go off or you lose power for two hours because of the wind. The wind this week that happened in the rain. I had no power for two hours. So orders were coming in by Uber Eats. Someone's coming to pick up food and we have nothing because we have no power and we can't make the food. So
I just shut down Uber Eats.
Now I know. I got it because I'm like, it's gonna come back in a few minutes.
That's
and then
right.
a few minutes,
anticipation,
some hours. So all these things that aren't in the business plan. But what I love about it, and I'm not complaining, is like I'm learning every day and I'm adjusting and adapting. It's not gonna be the same.
But I could also say that maybe differ with you a little bit to say that your business degree did really help you a lot.
So at first I was saying no, but I agree 100%. It definitely did in ways that I might not see off the bat. But then as time goes, even like when I'm doing meetings, some people be like, you don't sound like a regular chef.
You sound like a leader, right? Like
even in my email, maybe my emails might sound a little more, professional versus, one, 2 words, BRB or LMK versus let me know kind of thing, knowing how to command yourself in a room, bidding for contracts with the government and seeing you. And this goes back to like, as an African, they tell you you need to get educated. And I think why they do that is so we can earn our seat at the table. Even when you get there, you're like, oh, get a master's degree, get a PhD, and then you get all that just to be on the same level playing field, as a regular other person. You know what I mean?
Right now, even the master's degree is not even enough anymore, right? Like,
yeah.
So for the viewers listening out there, right, and watching us, right? So do you think that anyone who wants to make sense like that big pivot as well needs to have a business degree?
Definitely not. No.
Okay.
No. So degrees. So I've said this before that going to school doesn't make you smarter.
That's true.
It just means you went to school. Okay. So people will think, oh, I'm educated. No. You just sat for 4 years and you listened and you paid attention and you followed through. Because again, there's chiefs and Indians. Indians. There's leaders and followers. You need both, right?
That's true.
I need somebody to wash dishes. And if everyone has degrees, then who's gonna wash dishes?
Well, people with degrees. I mean, it's happening in Nigeria right now, right?
You see what I'm saying?
Where they tell you, like, Dangote had this whole job posted and said, oh, you need to have a master's degree to come and be a truck driver.
Really?
Like, yeah, like, it's for real. Right?
But the thing is, so what I learned, and the difference between undergrad and grad is, like, it's what you do with school. Like, the people you've met in your school, those, like, your next CFO maybe was your classmate, that kind of thing.
So the network is
more important.
More important than okay.
Yes. So people who think you go to school because it makes you smarter. No, because you feed off each other. Like, oh, in my experience, running this tech company, I did this. Okay, how can I use that experience with food? Because everything is relatable.
So the whole idea is to take all of your life experiences, the places you're in, or the opportunities you have, as a valuable lesson, one, but also make sure you glean all the network you can from wherever you are, because you never know what.
Yeah. So you as an engineer with a background, you probably make a killer rice bowl in the restaurant because like you'll probably have it down to to the science of it, like how many grains of rice do I need for this kind of thing. Whereas me, I would just like try to like make it look, what I mean. So all those things can work in your favor if you use them.
So all in all, just do.
Yeah. Exactly.
Just be and do. Just be
and do.
Yes.
Yeah.
So now when you made that switch, right? What can you sort of like let us be kind of like a fly in the wall with some sort of like conversations or expectations you had to navigate with your wife, your family, or even like your community?
Yeah. I mean, so the main thing, so when you have a job, obviously you have, and that's another thing that I quickly realized with the American system is they want you to have a job, right? Because when you have a job, it comes with benefits, right? Like life insurance, health insurance, dental. But if you don't, then you're going to pay out of pocket. So you need to be employed to have insurance. So now that was the first discussion. So went to my wife's insurance, so I can do my thing. And then she had the stable paycheck. Where I had to kind of figure things out. So the first thing is having that discussion. Having a family and having that lifestyle that they're accustomed to, and then now because the person that you married, like when you marry somebody, so my wife married a business, a finance person, and now I'm over there smoking ribs at 7 p.m. She's like, bro, like before, 5 p.m., 5:30, you were home. Because I used to pick up, so I used to leave work at 3 p.m., take the bus, we pick up the kids, at the daycare, whatever.
Yeah.
But now, last week, I was at the kitchen till 10, 11 p.m. one night. But I couldn't do that if, I didn't have that system to, pick up the babies, get them ready for dinner time, bedtime, shower time. So that was the first discussion, having the wife and the kids on board, understand that this is the new shift. But I see this as an investment because now I'm hoping what my kids are learning now is something that they won't learn in school, like how to create your own path, because right now employment is tough. I know people who've been looking for jobs for 6 months, a year plus with good resumes, And then that's telling them, let me create my own path. It may not be easy. I might need to make adjustments, but that's okay. Because that's what life is about, pivoting in everything. We've seen that with the pandemic, pivoting. Before that, people wouldn't work remote, but now they had to, and they found a way. So life always finds a way. So like, that's what I'm hoping that, by me making this leap, like my kids are seeing this and being, because like now Grace had my firstborn, she wants to be an influencer. I'm like, listen, man, if you love that and it makes sense and you'll be happy doing it, let's have that discussion. Let's see how to do that, I'm not going to tell my kids to be lawyers, be doctors. Like I know people who have done these degrees to appease their parents and they're miserable.
That's right.
Like their parents have spent that money and now they're working at whatever, So what's the point, So it's just like, again, the goal of life, even you as a parent, is for your kids to be happy.
That's right.
If you tell me your goal is if for your kids to be rich, I'll be like, that's interesting. No, it's happiness, because you can't buy that. You know what I mean? And that comes
you can't buy
what
time
you love.
too,
No, you can't.
right?
Yeah.
Like we've already established.
Yeah, exactly.